I recently sat down with Darci Frankel, my friend and Ayurvedic practitioner, to talk about Indian healing, applying astrological principles, aligning with nature. Check this out. Hey, folks, I'm here with my friend Darci Frankel, who is a great Ayurvedic practitioner, lives in Hawaii. Hanalei Day Spa is where she's been located in Kauai. And we're going to be talking about Ayurveda, Jyotish, self care, living in alignment with seasons, all kinds of things that have to do with cleansing, and ways to take Vedic astrology sort of out of the ethers and into your daily life. And I've known Darci for, I don't know, maybe 10 years or so now, and she's an excellent, fantastic practitioner. And welcome, Darci.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you so much for having me. I've been, such a big fan of yours and dear friend for all these years. So I'm really honored to be here amongst your esteemed students and other
All of
college
them, huh?
friends. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and
Thanks.
Darcy also, yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that's been great is I've seen you take a lot of your offerings, and especially actually even go deeper into the Jyotish, especially tracking like the daily forecasts and stuff like that. You've been tracking those things with me for years as well. And really, as far as Ayurveda goes, it's really that science of staying integrated day to day with it. And so it's great to see you also doing a lot of that. Tell people about your how you got started in Ayurveda and your past, present, future, whatever you'd like.
Okay, I will do. First, I wanted to respond to what you said, and thank you. Humbled and honored, and yes, Sam, you give such amazing value. I hope I don't embarrass you, but you give such amazing value to people. You really set this very high standard in our industry, and I put us together because Ayurveda, Vedic astrology, Jyotish, Hatha yoga, this was all, as we know, taught together. It only got separated like everybody else when it came to the West. And so you put this together and share with folks so much. I just really want to take a moment and acknowledge you and give you praise and appreciation for being so generous.
Please. I'm kidding. No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Well, like you and like all the people that we see, it's love. It's a great love of these traditions and thankfulness that they exist, because without them, I don't know where I would be. I don't like to think about it, but yeah. So once we get into them, once we start studying one, we start seeing how they're all related, and then based on each individual's tendency, we tend to gravitate more toward one than another. So with myself, I studied all of them for a while. I did some Ayurveda, some Jyotish, some Hatha yoga. But then because of my nature, and you can see like in my chart with Gemini and all like that, I naturally gravitated more toward Jyotish, which is the intellectual part. And because you're more embodied and whatnot, you focus more on the Ayurvedic part. That's really the beauty of how these sciences work together. So you're a great embodiment of that as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Thanks. Yeah, so one of the things that just pops to mind is the recent new moon that we had, and I was inspired by you actually to do a Facebook Live, and I thought, what do we need right now? There was so much happening. It was a very dark, the new moon is dark. It was Diwali, and it was a very dark time. And I thought, okay, I put my Ayurveda glasses on, and I thought, what do we really need? And to be honest, I I I was doing my own spiritual practice, my own practices, and I literally did a Facebook Live on that, which is something it's very sacred and private usually. And I just kind of took one for the team and decided to share that, and so that was sweet and well received. And I took the the principles, and I thought, okay, what do we need? So it was a very dark time, And I thought, what do we need? We need to stimulate our own internal light, our own internal illumination, our internal, and how does that show up? It shows up in many different ways in the body, mind, and emotions. And one of the ways, I shared some breathing techniques to increase digestion, assimilation, as well as elimination. And so, when we know about these Ayurvedic principles, which are literally Vedic principles of the elements, the five elements are space, air, fire, water, and earth. And we also know about, like the daily updates that you share. Okay, it's going to be darker. What we start to learn how we can apply that in daily life. And so this is one of the things I love to share with people. How do we create this balance and do self-care? Because, let's face it, we all really do need to do self-care, especially in this day and age. And there are simple things that we can do in our daily life to help create balance in our body or in our mind. And we all know how the mind affects the body and how the emotions affect the body and vice versa.
Yeah. How did you get started in this? I actually don't know the story as well either. Do you have, I'd love for people to hear that as well, but no, what you're saying is fantastic, especially, Diwali and these new moons, especially these new lunations when everything, depletes a little bit. That's when we start a new cycle. So there's often letting go and purging. This is what feels dark, but certainly in Diwali, that's why they have the whole festival of light and being intentional with all of that. So yeah, that's being in harmony with those cycles are really important for sure. And I did see that Facebook Live that you did as well. But before we dive in, I'd love for people to hear your story. I know a little bit about it, but not so much.
It's unusual as all of our stories. And I wanted to say one thing, and then I'll share my story.
Okay.
So and we could come back to this one thing after my story. And this next piece I'm going to share with you is something that is implied, but not necessarily spelled out with all the different Ayurveda teachers. So it took me years, and I've been practicing Ayurvedic medicine for about 25 years. And it took me a while to codify this little piece. And that is that I'll share a little bit and we could talk more about it after. So during Diwali, it was dark. So there's this beautiful wisdom in the Vedic culture that opposites heal, right? So when there's dark, what do? We light a bunch of lights. We focus on that illumination out externally and internally. And so we'll come back to that, but it's a fundamental tenet in Ayurveda and Vedic astrological remedies from my experience. Okay, we can come back to that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So my story, I have to say, and it's in my chart as well. Vedic astrologers have always told me these things, that
everything's in the chart.
I know, right? It's all there. It's all transparent. And so I started with hatha, with yoga practices as a very young girl, and with family practice sessions. I started doing yoga with my mom when I was very little, and I loved it. And it was always very intriguing, as was these healing sciences. I was always curious about different, on an unconscious level as a child, how to mix different things in a healing way, alchemical processes. I was always very body oriented, and I took my family gift. There's many people in my family who are profoundly intuitive, and I use that on a body sense. So I have my spidey my spidey superpowers with that go with my streak are to be able to really see and feel into the human body, whether I'm even on a phone, call, I get information about people. So then I continued on with studying different styles of yoga, and I did a comparative studies in different styles of yoga. And then one day, my housemate brought home a book on Ayurveda, and we devoured it. And that was the beginning. I started studying Ayurveda with a Vaidya at my ashram, and then I went on to study Ayurveda with my Ayurveda guru. So that's the short version. And I also.
And then you lived and I know that you lived like in California, you lived all around, and then you wound up in Hawaii. How did you wind up in Hawaii? What is that like? Because I know I've been there to your place there in, what is that like there, and how has that shaped your journey?
Well, let's see. I actually skipped over. I leapfrogged over California, Sam. I grew up in South Florida, and then I lived in Arizona for a handful of years, and
Okay.
had a yoga studio and an Ayurveda center. So in Ayurveda, our quintessential cleansing and rejuvenation program is called Pancha Karma. Some of you may be familiar with the word Pancha. It means 5. So Pancha Karma helps to clean the body. It has 5 main areas that cleanses the body. So I started practicing and offering these cleansing and rejuvenation programs to folks, and people loved it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, sacred experience, and it cleans us. And so I and I had this yoga studio for years and years in Arizona, and my Panchakarma Center, Ayurveda Center of Arizona. So we moved here, and then I thought, I can't do anything. I need a break. But inevitably, just like you can't just, wherever you go, there you are. So people started to invite me, oh, come do Ayurveda here, come teach here, please, you should open up a healing center here. And so I said, oh, okay. I didn't really even want to, I needed a break, but the universe, called me, and I'm being the good Arja woman that I am. I like to sink my teeth into a challenging project, and I also want to serve as well. So Hawaii was incredibly, I feel a little moved, but Hawaii has always been given me what I need.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you live in such a beautiful area over there in Kauai.
Kauai is amazing, and I live on the very, very, very North Shore. It was funny when I was sharing this with somebody last night. When I moved to my location about 18 years ago, I had this experience where when I came over these double bridges, I had this sense that, wow, it's vulnerable here. And I wouldn't know how vulnerable it was until April of 2018.
Yeah.
And what happened was we had a record-breaking rainfall. In 24 hours, we had 50 inches of rain, which I tell the kids it broke the road. It literally mudslides came down, and they broke the road, similar to what happened in Big Sur. So my business, the Hanalei Day Spa, the Ayurveda Center, everything, all the businesses here, which there's just a few handfuls, as well as the vacation rentals, had to close because only bona fide residents could drive in and out, and only a few times, like a handful of times a day. Talk about Saturn, like being confined. And so after I was a little traumatized because it was scary at first, and I just worked off all of that, and then I was on the floor And I remember the moment I realized I was in this conflict. Oh, how am I going to serve? How am I going to help people? I wasn't really focused on the money. I was like, how am I going to do my dharma? And I was working on a knot in my shoulder with a little, right there, a little ball. And I realized, oh, I should do what my amazing Vedic astrologer has been telling me for years. Sam Geppi. I know I
Yep.
should. I know I shouldn't name drop, but and to codify my years of experience as an Ayurveda practitioner, as a cleansing and rejuvenation specialist, into online courses.
Yeah.
I didn't know it would be full time for a year and a half while the road was open. The road just opened in July, a few months ago. So that's what I did with my time, and
It's a great opportunity there, right? When the Lord takes something away, it opens the door, because if you're just busy, 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 there's no space. That's how most of the great things in our life happen. It's how I started doing astrology, getting fired, not fired, but a job that I was doing, they downsized and let everyone go, and I was ecstatic because now I had space to pursue what I wanted to do. There were grown men crying because we just lost $100,000 a year job, but that's the space. So we lose that thing, and it's like, okay, now I have the time and space to do something. So good on you for doing it.
and thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, yeah. Darci just made a very a beautiful cleanse product. This is one of the reasons why we also wanted to talk, to let people know about it, because the Serious Cleanse, is that what it's called?
It is.
You want to talk about it for a second, and then we'll get back to the.
Yeah. Yes. And I wanted to respond. You say such amazing, profound things, and I feel like your viewers, our viewers today, and thank you again for having me on. um, uh, I'm really touched that you value me, that much as a colleague to share my offerings. So thank you so much. And I want to highlight and bold and underline for y'all what Sam just said. So when the universe takes something away, there's a gift. So we're always so focused on the thing that got taken away that a lot of times we don't see the gift. Sometimes and I see this as an Ayurveda practitioner. I see people of all ranges of health and disease you can imagine. People, like a couple weeks ago, I got to give an Ayurveda massage and some beautiful treatments to this woman. I was like, there's nothing to do here. She was so clean and pure. I've never even had that experience. She was, to people who are terminal. So I've seen a lot of people, and a lot of times what we do when we get a diagnosis or when we get ill is we pathologize, and we turn this disease into just that. And I know this might, rub some people the wrong way, but I can't help, just like Sam, we have this in common.
Rub them, baby, rub them.
I can't help but to speak the truth. And truth be told is we can, even though this might be painful, we can see this as an opportunity for growth. There's big opportunity there. And Sam, you're so enlightened. You said, oh, great, this is exciting. I want to, I lost this job. Awesome. And some of us, not so enlightened people, might take a week or a few weeks or maybe even a few years to realize that the divinity, the deep wisdom that's intrinsic in the happenings of our lives. So I wanted to, and including illness.
And just real quick, at the time, and the way you can tell is at the time, it's not that I'm so enlightened. I was already looking for ways to get out of the job, but it's hard. I was living in San Francisco, which is an expensive city, and it's hard to leave $100,000 a year job when you're living in an expensive city. And I was already planning on taking like a yoga vacation, and I was already studying Jyotish a lot. My mind was already like, oh, come on. And then that happened, and I was like, instantly, I did the calculations in my head. okay, I'm going to get about $25,000 severance, going to get unemployment. I got about 2 years. Like, and as soon as I realized I was let go, it was shocking because it was like, okay, you don't have a job. And I was like, again, people were crying and I was like, I don't have a job. I don't have a job. I got 2 years to do it. But anyway, so it's not that I was that enlightened, but you know, the other thing I just want to say really quick is that, and again, it's really to give props to people like Darci and other Ayurvedic practitioners, especially those who are really down there with people, and you know, they're doing their work. I mean, I come in and I explain how things are happening, and I have my part in people's healing, which is to give them perspective. And what this is what Jyotish does is it really shows so you can understand the karma and you can have a perspective that allows you to see how having this thing taken away is actually an opportunity. But sometimes it manifests as a deep health issue. And my part in it is to try to explain it. But then you get people like Darci and other Ayurvedic practitioners who work with the person over and over again and get down and suffer the pain with them and take it on in ways that I don't. So this is one of the reasons why I have such respect for what you do and what other Ayurvedic practitioners do. I know it takes about this much to bring someone like Darci to tears about some of the stuff that she sees, because it's very hard. I know, and when I deal with people like that, it's hard as well. And so people like Darci are down in the trenches with people's physical pain and problems and trauma and counseling. That's why, you know, you're down there in it. So I wanted to say that as well, that Ayurveda is really the counseling transformation day-to-day work that gets done when someone gets a Jyotish reading. I say, you know, go get an Ayurvedic, you know, counselor to help you deal with and manage the physical manifestations of your karma, because it does manifest physically.
It does. It does. And at different times, you know, I did study, like Sam studied a little bit of Ayurveda and Hatha Yoga. I did study Vedic astrology in school, in Ayurveda school, and, you know, the different limbs of the Vedas. And so I'm not a master. I'm the armchair, you know, and I learned so much from you, Sam, but it's true. And also when we go through these major planetary periods in our lives and these transits, which you share each month, different karmas ripen. You know,
the best thing Ayurvedic practitioners can really learn, and this is why I have a way of focusing this, not to interrupt, but there are two main things, and that's the dashas and the transits, because these are the things that are bringing out the elemental qualities of that manifest in Ayurveda, like this Jupiter now, as we record this in early November 2019, Jupiter moving from Scorpio to Sagittarius is going to influence. And especially people that have heavy planets in Sagittarius or whatever, they've had Saturn and Ketu in that first house. Now Jupiter is going to come in, great healing around that. So these are not insignificant. In many ways, they're the most important things that we can know about healing and self-care, which is a big part of your work. So sorry to interrupt, but just in a general sense, those are some of the most important things. Micro focusing on the chart and being able to unravel someone's karma specifically and all, that's kind of what Jyotish does on a very subtle level. But even on the gross level, so much can be known just by watching the transits, knowing what the lunation cycle is, and watching especially the transits of Saturn, Rahu, and Jupiter, you know, Saturn, the lunar nodes in Jupiter, and how those things are falling in someone's chart. So much can be known. That affects the physiology as well.
Yes, it does. It really does. And I'm sitting here as you were talking, going back and forth and counting, you know, from your first house, thinking, where is Jupiter moving in your first house? Is it your sixth house? Is Jupiter moving into your sixth house?
Seventh.
Into your seventh house.
It's been in the sixth. So I've had that Saturn Ketu there. Well, Saturn has been in Sagittarius since early 2017, but I've had Saturn Ketu in the seventh house this whole year. Like, so that big Saturn Ketu has been my seventh because I'm Gemini. Mm-hmm. So for all of us right now, Jupiter is going to go and bring enormous healing into that difficult area of life that we've all been experiencing the last several years with Saturn, especially this year with Saturn Ketu. Jupiter goes in and it's going to kind of wash away a lot of that intensity that we've all been going through. But of course, that intensity is the same kind of thing you mentioned. It's been bringing up and exposing a hole and pressure that we've needed to address.
Yes, and it's not that it created this. This is another thing that I learned from Vedic astrology, and being a member in your site on your being a member and getting these monthly, hearing the monthly cycles
Yeah.
have helped me so much.
Yep.
And then you also give away so much too. I'm baffled.
Well, thank you.
And in awe. So it's like, so Saturn, which is this planet of such a great teacher, and this planet of that can cause a lot of vata aggravation, and we could talk about what vata is in a moment for those of you who don't know. It, and then Jupiter coming, who's this good, jovial, kapha, happy, light energy is going to be this soothing balm. I love that. And so, gosh, there was something else I wanted to say. It's so fun to talk and bounce back and forth, and I'm
sorry if I got you off track.
No. I love it. I love it. We both have this Gemini influence, so we can flow and be creative and have
Well,
fun.
we were talking about the timing. You were talking about the timing of how Ayurveda brings you in harmony with the timing, and then I kind of got in and started talking about, for Ayurvedic practitioners, really even just a couple things, or even not just Ayurvedic practitioners, but even just people that want to live, that want to understand the big cycles. Even just watching Jupiter and Saturn and the nodes and how they're moving brings such, value. And of course, an Ayurvedic practitioner like Darci, who is down there sort of in the trenches with people, helping them transform and heal. Even some of the most important things that you'll be watching, I'm sure, when you're using Jyotish, are those big transits and those dashas. The dashas and the transits carry that, what's called the vikruti, like the changes in the person's baseline nature. You'll look for crucial, shifts to bring that about. That's kind of where we were, and then I jumped in.
Yes, and thank you. I love that. So what I'd like to do for our viewers who are very new to Ayurveda, what is Ayurveda? Ayurveda is the system of healing from India, and where we use different modalities to help create balance in the body, the mind, and the emotion. So it's all connected, as I mentioned earlier. And so some of the modalities, so how does an Ayurveda lifestyle or an Ayurveda practitioner help people to create balance? So one of the things that I do when Sam says I get in the trenches, I look with people, what are your daily practices? Because usually when I see someone come to me, they say, oh, I have insomnia, or I have this joint pain and I don't know what to do. Or this disease, or this or that or the other. I roll my sleeves up and we look in their lives and see, what are they doing? I get a lifestyle diary from everybody for a few days, and I say, don't be on your good behavior. I need to know everything, because what you're doing is probably contributing to what's happening. And usually I find we need to take something out rather than load somebody up with an armful of supplements or whatnot. And so the ways that Ayurveda helps to heal are a myriad of body-centered treatments, such as different types of massage. When somebody comes to me for the cleansing retreat called Panchakarma, doing different things to help their body to remember the balance. I help people choose the best foods for them, not from a moralistic standpoint, mind you, but from a standpoint of what's going to create more balance, what's going to create more harmony. I help people to refine their practices. I've seen so many people who have different spiritual teachers and help, and they have these practices. So they might even be doing something in that practice that I can help them refine or counteract, or it might sound I'm realizing to the listener, it might sound a little nebulous. So some possible suggestions are suggestions for supplements, for changes in food and lifestyle, adjusting timings of things, because that's important. Sometimes it's not what you eat, it's when you eat it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not how you might exercise, it's when. And I've just had tons of experience and a little super freaky spider sense, spidey sense and I help people to create more balance in that way. And now I have spent all this time in confinement, which I actually loved, and but I will be reopening my healing center and day spa soon. And I've codified this online course. So we'll share with you that, because that's like somebody coming to me maybe twice a month for a year, like a lot of time and energy and focus. And I've made this available to a lot of people. So people who are interested in cleansing and rejuvenating, this is a pretty awesome and very cost efficient program, considering that doing all of this on an individual level would probably take years. I actually
Right. Yeah, and this is when you and I were talking, and we were talking about how you could bring bring some of the stuff online, because again, Ayurveda is very hands-on, and so it's hard sometimes for Ayurvedic practitioners, even yoga teachers or whatever, to think of how to do something online. For what I do, it's easy because it's so much intellectual and so much information, but it was basically, what are the things that you kind of wind up having to show someone over and over again anyway? That's always a good place to start. Like, no matter where you're at, you probably need to cleanse more. You need to understand more about timing and, daily timings or whatever. And so a lot of that is codified into this thing. It's just like with myself, with Jyotish, it's hard to start just sort of teaching someone from wherever they're at. I kind of stopped doing that, which sort of like when someone walks in and like, okay, heal me from Ayurvedic perspective. Then you have to kind of start with where they're at and almost kind of strip it all down. It's the same thing I do with Jyotish. It's like, look, I don't want to answer all of your questions. I want you to start here and go through all this before I actually want to spend any time privately tutoring you, because I'm going to just be responding to things that are already out of balance. So you build it up from the bottom. And that's kind of the concept of, I think, at least the conversations that we were having. And it's a very interesting way to approach it, because we're used to also feeling like the best sort of approach. Because, people ask me, how much would it cost you to just tutor me one-on-one? So first of all, it would cost a lot. That's if I even wanted to do it. I wouldn't want to do it, not because I don't like the person, but because it's just not efficient. Because again, tutoring someone one-on-one, I'm going to wind up saying exactly the same things that I would say if someone went through my certification course, which is exactly why I actually even put it together that way. It was like, look, this is exactly what I would do if you were to have me tutor you one-on-one. I would say the first thing is learn this, next learn this, next learn this. And my whole certification courses are that. So it's kind of the same sort of thing, where we like to think that we're all so personal and so individual, and actually we are kind of, but we're all on the same earth, the same elements, the same factors come. And until we're doing them and those things are balanced, and once we get those things balanced, all of those jagged edges that our individuality revolves around becomes much less. If that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. And I hadn't thought of it that way. And so what I've done in my Serious Cleanse 30-day challenge is I've started people from the beginning. It's kind of like a panchakarma in a way. Remember, panchakarma is the cleansing and rejuvenation program. Well, not everybody can afford, $4,000, or maybe by the time they get to Kauai, the $5,000 or whatever dollars it costs to do this, what is amazing cleansing and rejuvenation program. So, I say, here, come check out my Serious Cleanse 30-day challenge. And what I did, even in the first week, is I help prepare people for the weeks to come. It's like purva karma. And so your your first level of your certification program is Purva Karma. And what is Purva Karma? It's the preparation
Yeah.
for the actual cleansings. We could use this it's the preparation for the actual, bigger lessons for
Right.
you if we use your lens. And so why do we do this? We can't just cleanse people like that. You cannot. Why? Because it would be very uncomfortable, and it would cause problems. And in the same way, you can't teach people your most advanced levels right off the bat. Why? Because number one, they don't have the foundation. And so, for instance, in the very first week of my serious cleanse 30-day challenge, I help people to prepare their body in the best way. So the first thing is I help them to clean up their diet, to let go of things that aren't serving them. And I go through explicitly what these things are and clean up their diet. They do their first cleanse called the sugar and gluten cleanse, where I show folks how to eliminate hidden sugar and gluten and actually how to detoxify from those things because they have an effect on us. And I give supplement suggestions for that. Each week, folks get to do a cleanse. I wonder if I should share my screen.
You can do that. While you're looking for that, I'll say a few things. Yeah, it's very similar, if not exactly the same thing that I said in general. That
the principles
that you can't really like trying to teach someone jumping into the complexities and the biases and the preconceptions they already have doesn't only confuse them more, but it also hurts their confidence. It makes them think that they can't get it because it scrambles their brain to an extent, and it also promotes a lack of confidence in them. It makes them give up. These are the kinds of things that I've navigated. It's why, like, the beginning of my certification course is nothing but the background, literally, like the history. What is astrology? What is the cosmos? And how does that come down into things like elements and gunas, and what is the structure of the sky? Again, what are we really even looking at with astrology? Because most people don't even know that, and that includes astrologers. What is karma? Why does your karma wake up at certain times? Why does the chart show it? What's working? What's actually even happening? And again, this is the first thing somebody needs to understand, or else astrology itself will just confuse you and can make things worse for you because you don't even really know what you're looking at or what's going on. So then it winds up being one more thing that you're trying to use to intellectually conquer the universe or some other just weird idea. So the whole thing is to start from the right place, and that's very grounded. And then from there, those universal principles build on themselves, and then planet signs, houses, and all that stuff makes sense because it's in a context. So it's the same with you. You can't just jump into someone's imbalances and say, all right, start taking these herbs, get up at this time, do this thing, because they're already being triggered by they haven't detoxified yet. They're still dealing with all of their sugar addictions and all this, and that's like, it's hard for me to take this herb and get up at this time because I'm still being triggered by all these bad habits. So it's like, first you need to, and often the first thing is educating them even about all of that. We're not even educated about it. It's the same thing I do. First, I got to educate people what astrology even is, what the cosmos even is, what karma even is, what your subtle bodies are,
right?
What the koshas are, what the chakras are. We don't even know that. So it's the same with you. First, you got to say, here's your body.
Yeah.
Here's what it's doing.
Yeah, and how I do that is the very first lesson is a pre-detox. So I help them to pre-detoxify and prepare their mind and their body in the best possible way so that it can all be easy. So as teachers, we just don't say, blah, here's everything.
Some of them do. Sorry, to be honest.
No. Let me redo that because I'm such a big fan of a redo. As skilled and seasoned and experienced teachers, we know that human beings have a certain type of agni or digestion, and and ama, or toxins. So we have to start with foundations and enkindle their agni, or digestive fire, mental, emotional digestive fire, and feed them in a certain way. So, for you, you teach about the koshas and all your foundation things. So in my very first week of the Serious Cleanse 30-day challenge, I help people to drop into their bodies, to learn things that they never even learned in school. We do the pre-detox, and I help people to I give them recipes so that they can follow along to eliminate all manner of junk foods and toxins, because ultimately the 4 goals in the Serious Cleanse are to learn about toxins, to cleanse toxins from the body, to track their progress, because what good is doing a cleanse if you don't know how you're doing? And then the last goal is to prevent toxins from getting in the body in the first place. And these are the 4 goals, and they're in all of the lessons, and in each of the lessons in the 30-day challenge. So then we do the sugar and gluten cleanse, along with different meditations, very short meditations in the first week, and practices that help to bring us back in, because we're so externally focused in our lives. And a lot of our toxins are things that are mental and emotional. So I help people to unwind and digest that. The next day, day 3, is all about listening to our body, which we're not taught how to do. So I go through what are the different cues and clues. Some people, my husband used to say, oh, this is acting up, or that's acting up. And, as we mentioned earlier, it's almost a misnomer to think that this is, to pathologize these things. It's something's calling your attention. And so I really help people to, like I'm a body whisperer. So I help people to translate what is your body really saying, and teach you how to do that on your own. And that's just day 3. Day 4 is the introduction to toxins, a food checklist, another meditation, and a detox bath. We talk about how all the different types of toxins, and I've codified, I think I might be the first one to have done this. So during my creation of this course, I also did a huge amount of research, like scientific papers, and it was a lot of learning. And I've codified 7 different categories of toxins. And in Ayurveda school, we learned about 1, ama.
Okay.
So it's kind of brilliant, if I do say so myself.
And so one of the things, and one of the principles even of what accumulates, toxin and what we need to digest,
Mm-hmm.
one of the really powerful principles for me that I've always gotten from Ayurveda, and that I always come back to, is that we're not just eating through our mouth. And especially in this day and age, we're eating through our eyes, especially. We're very visual. The visual center in the brain is like easily the most, developed, our eyes and our mouth. So we obviously put food into our mouth, but we also digest. We have to digest what comes in through our eyes. So this is why gazing at nature and sacred objects and beautiful like mandalas of deities and things that are uplifting imagery in the mind is, it's not only easy to digest, but when you do digest it, it nurtures and feeds it. Whereas if you're looking at, violent imagery, I mean, everything is so, dark imagery, watching a lot of, or just like media that's kind of like snacking junk food. Even if something's not destructive, it's not uplifting, then it's, most of us are in this rajas mode, which is the guna, the rajasic guna of just, it's not going up or down. It's just trivia, entertainment, like junk foods, like a snacking. Over time, it creates a lot of problems. Sometimes we even look at, violent imagery or dark imagery, which actually is very hard to digest. And when we digest that, it does create more stress, fear, worry, anxiety. But then it's also possible to gaze at beautiful things. This is why, like, you're, living in a place like in Kauai, where you walk out and there are beautiful trees and the water, it just naturally has an effect on consciousness. It's crazy. In the West, we don't even think about this kind of thing when it comes to healing.
It's true. It's true. We consume through all of our senses.
And we have to digest it. That's the thing. We're not just digesting in our belly, but our mind has to digest all of that stuff, especially through our eyes, I think, because we're so visual. Even like, not to mention staring at our phone and scrolling and what's that, having to digest too many impressions that our mind was never meant to function that way.
Yes, yes, it's true. And so one of the things how I address that is I help people to different practices to help cleanse the senses. In one of my lessons, which was really, really close to my heart, is about children, keeping our children safe, and how violence in media affects children's behavior, and how when they take that violence out, children are positively affected, just like they're negatively affected. And I teach people about emotional and mental cleansing. That's one of my bonus cleansings, because we also don't realize that we need that. Just like you said, we consume so much through all of our senses, our sense of smell. If you're nose blind, why? Why is that?
Yeah, I'm nose blind. Why? I can't smell things very well at all. And I know it's because I'm very disconnected from my heart. I'm very insensitive and mean. Maybe that's why.
Well, you know me, I would have put it in a way more diplomatic way.
Well, you know me, I don't.
I wouldn't say.
And I'm also honest with myself. No, I feel like it's just because of like, I mean, nose. I would think it's because the smell is very connected to the heart and whatnot, and I'm underneath it all a terrified, shivering animal.
As we all are.
So in all seriousness, what would it mean, like something like, let's say, being nose blind or something?
It actually really depends on the individual. It could be that there's a large coating of toxins in the body mind. It could be even an injury that you sustained. We know ama helps to cloud. AMA, or toxin, spelled AMA, not to be confused with the American.
Yeah, not to be confused with the
American Medical Association, of course. So when our
good one, never thought of that.
Thank you.
Now you see why I said not to mention people at the beginning. It could easily. That's why I just trying to set up a rule, because you never know, and I don't want to have to go back and edit things. So
anyway, so AMA clouds our senses, and I've felt your pulses before, and but I haven't lately. I don't know. I would have.
I've always been that way, to be honest with you. Not to turn this into me, but actually, I've always been that way. Like I could take. I mean, especially things like stinky socks or something. I could stick it right on my face and inhale, and it won't bother me at all. Like when I used to clean like things that are really smell sensitive, like cleaning toilets or taking care of animals, like in the cow shed. When I went to Amachi's ashram, none of that stuff bothers me because I can't smell it. I literally can't smell it. Now, some things I can. Like I'm really sensitive. Like I worked in office doing some telemarketing actually when I was transitioning, and like when women wear too much perfume, I can smell that and it bugs the hell out of me. For example, so there are some things that are quite sensitive and it even kind of gives me a headache. But then other things, especially really pungent, ugly, terrible smells that bother people, I don't even smell. It doesn't even bother me.
I'll remember
anyway,
that.
Not to turn to that, but just I don't know, just because you mention it, not just about me, but just kind of as an example of how that kind of thing might show up or what it would mean.
Yes, and it's actually a good thing that those synthetic smells are give you a headache. So that's information. There are so many different chemicals, and we know combinations of chemicals are more toxic and harmful in the long run than just one single chemical. And nowadays, we don't even have the luxury to just be exposed to one chemical. And so what happens, we're exposed to, these chemicals and toxins in perfumes and our laundry detergents and our soap and our body.
Anything that's scented, like, for example, even like I can smell that. Like, for example, even shopping, not shopping bags, but garbage bags. Now they have scent. And again, if I take that out, I can smell that for some reason. And it's really actually pretty diffuse, I think. So I make sure I don't buy anything that has that because it bugs me. That kind of stuff does.
which
I don't know
it's good.
why. I don't know. It's very weird.
It's not. One is an organic smell. Cow dung is an
Oh,
organic smell, and
maybe
the
that's,
other is toxic chemicals. And
wow,
so
maybe that's it. Huh.
what starts to happen is we have these different organs of detoxification, Sam. And this is something that I share about in the Serious Cleanse, of course. And that is our liver, our kidneys. Our four main organs of detoxification are our liver, our kidneys, our skin, and our lymphatic system. And what happens is these get overloaded just by the nature of the times right now. So, and when these get overloaded, then we start to get things like headaches or other rashes or other symptoms. And until we do a cleanse and eliminate this burden on these organs, our liver, our kidneys, our skin, and our lymphatic system, they're just choke. And they're just choke. That's something we say in Hawaii. They're like choke up.
Wow. It's just really weird. I just want to reflect. That's so funny is that what you're making a distinction between is really powerful, because even things like I've always considered it a blessing, actually, not to turn this into about me, but it's just an interesting revelation that
Good.
that you just made a distinction that it's natural smells. Like, for example, I've never smelled BO in my life. I wouldn't even know what someone's BO smells like. Or any kind of natural thing. Even but if a woman is wearing perfume or a lot, it bugs me. Or even for example, in things like intense experiences like sex or other kinds of things where there are natural thing, then I notice it. But it's very interesting what you're saying. Part of the I think it's also because in all those environments, I can just keep breathing naturally. I've always considered a blessing because I always think to myself, I'm glad that I can't smell all this stuff that everybody else seems to be mainly revolted by. You hardly ever hear people going, oh, that smells so good. Let me keep smelling this thing. They have to stick something in their nose like a flower. Most of the time when people are talking about smells, it's some revolting smell. Like, ooh, you smell that? Ooh. And their breathing changes, their whole thing changes. And I don't have to deal with any of that, even if it's something that makes someone else disgusted. I don't know. So it's weird because I can just keep breathing naturally through all of it. Like, sounds fine with me. Anyway, that's weird. It's really amazing that you say maybe it's these chemical things, that maybe it's that kind of sensitivity.
It is, and I'm mildly chemically sensitive, and I don't blame me. I don't blame my body. What happened is that our parents were exposed to ever increasing levels of toxins in the environment, and so are we. We're exposed to more toxins nowadays than at any point in the world, in history. This is my serious cleanse wrap here. We are exposed to toxins through every breath, through every bite. They're spraying and growing pesticides and chemicals into our food. There's toxins and heavy metals in our drinking water and our showering water, our medicines, our body products, and our cleaning products. And so what we really need to do is guard even more. So this is why I realize I can cleanse people and be in the trenches till the cows come home. But unless we eliminate and guard against these certain things that are in our environment, we're just going to walk right back out and, of a beautiful 7-day punch of karma and get all toxic again.
And one of the great things, again, even about the digestion, we're also eating through our skin. And one of the main things, it's like you can give someone a punch of karma and then they go home and start rubbing Jergens lotion on their arms and their skin, and all that chemical goes into their skin. An Ayurvedic principle is you should never put anything on your body that you wouldn't eat. right?
Yes. And we use that to our advantage. So I treat people with herbalized oils because I know that the skin digests. I help clean people's skin because we know that it's the largest organ
Right.
of detoxification. I help people to sweat because it's really important to purify the pores. People don't really sweat a lot or completely. And then they go lay on their sheets and wear their clothing that has been soaked in and doused with fabric softener, laundry detergents, which have chemicals in them that make us sick, tired, and fat. And then we
Wow.
wonder why we're sick, tired, and fat, because we're consuming through all of our senses all of the time. And so that is why I created the Serious Cleanse 30-day challenge and the Serious Cleanse protocol to help people, my cleansing kit, to which is like right here, my little cleansing kit, to help people to eliminate these toxins. And I teach them to prevent that the toxins from getting in their body in the first place.
Yeah, and we'll have a link below in the video and stuff like that, so that'll all be there.
Yeah. Oh, great, Sam. Thank you.
Oh,
I
of course. No, I wanted you to talk to people about this, of course. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. And I wanted to extend an offer to your our viewers today. So what I decided to do, so remember I made this 30-day Serious Cleanse challenge. And now, all my colleagues are saying, what's your demographic? What's your demographic? And I say, it's right there. Serious Cleanse. It's for people who are serious about their health. So that's
anyone in a body.
Anyone in a body, but not everybody is going to take 30 days to, a half an hour to 45 minutes every day to receive these lessons, to do these practices, to do the cleansing. Not everybody's serious about their health. So I created the 7-day, not so serious cleanse. Which is basically
the 30-day fun cleanse.
No, it's 7 days, and it's basically
7 days.
It's basically the first 7 days of my program, and I'm offering it for free right now. I might only do this for the first few weeks or first month. I don't know, but I believe in this so much, and I really want to get it out there. So
that's actually a good thing to do. That's actually a good sales marketing strategies. Let people try it, and then if it's good and if they're benefiting from it, of course I'll keep going. That's a great idea.
Yes. And I literally just launched this about a week ago, and so far I checked a couple of days ago, about 45 or so people have logged on, and I haven't really officially launched it. I've just it's just letting people know, and it's getting viral. So it makes me really happy to share this and get the positive feedback, to hear how people are positively affected by doing the cleansing kit and the 7-day so far. So
awesome. Yeah, well, we'll have the links down there as well.
There's so much more to talk about, and how Ayurveda and Jyotish connects, and there's so much more. But I think for today, I think we've really given people a good sense about who I am, and who what Ayurveda is and how it helps people, the importance of cleansing periodically. And so I just want to speak to that for a moment. So there's a lot of people who are very fixated on cleansing. And I want to say that cleansing is good, but what happens after cleansing? We need to rebuild, we need to nourish. And so that's what we do in Panchakarma, in Ayurveda, and the Serious Cleanse program also. We help people to nourish and realize that it's not just about, cleansing, it's about stabilizing. And so when we make changes in the lifestyle, it's really important, even though we're making changes which can exacerbate the vata energy or movement, or make us feel ungrounded or not stable. It's really important to do so with in a consistent methodical manner. And that's what we do in Ayurveda. That's what we do in the Serious Cleanse. And that's what Sam does in, in the certification program. We give very strategic information to help you reach your goals. And if your goal is to be healthy, then, come on in.
Yeah. And, the thing that you're saying though, it's so true is that, and, parallel, I wasn't going to say this, necessarily, but a parallel, very similar even to like really learning anything or starting anything. It's kind of what we said at the beginning as well, is that the cleanse, a cleanse is like the first part of really any kind of new endeavor. And, one of the things that happens, you can even look at the cleanse as kind of like having something ripped away. Like, for example, even that thing that happened last year with all of the rain and stuff, for you, that was kind of a cleanse. It kind of cleansed you. It's not a cleanse. It's not intentional. It's kind of something that opens up a kind of gash or like a hole where we have to now go, okay, now I need to fill it and build something into it. So short of having your entire system crash, which this can happen in Ayurveda, where a disease or an illness gets so bad that some entire bodily function or something crashes to the point, then it's even actually hard to cleanse, because cleansing also takes energy. And then you're trying to build something up from something that's utterly decimated. So what a cleanse does, and being able to have the strength to actually do a cleanse, and it is that what it winds up doing is it allows you to kind of reset everything, basically back to a point to where you've eliminated toxins and you've cleansed. But if you just go back to the same habits, or then you don't understand your body well enough or whatever, to then build it up in the proper way, then you're just going to need another cleanse. And this is kind of what people do. I'll do a cleanse every year. And then in between my cleanse, I'll abuse my body and fill it with toxins and all of this, snacking, bad habits. And then I'll cleanse it out every year or so. You're just kind of treading water. So it's similar to what I do, like in my courses, to kind of start people all over again. And then I can build up their muscles and then show them how it's built. But then often they go back to then the same old things again, and it kind of undoes a lot of the work. This actually happens with my astrology students quite a bit too. And then they'll come back to me after a year or two and say, hey, let's have a private lesson. I'll be like, okay. And they're not doing anything I taught them. I have to go back and like cleanse them again and go, okay, if you want me to help you and teach you, you have to cleanse anyway.
You have to be serious and you have to do some of the work. And so for us, with your membership course, even with your online membership, and me with the Serious Cleanse, I require that people do work on their own. It's not, you could buy it, but it's not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
You can buy my Serious Cleanse protocol cleansing kit, the companion cleanse, but this is not, the Serious Cleanse body mask is not going to it's not going to do anything on the shelf. But when you mix this with water and you put it on your body, it's going to pull toxins out, like even radiation kind of toxins.
Wow. Look at what you've done. I'm so proud of you. Look at that. That's amazing. You had all that stuff made. Wow.
Actually, I've been refining, Sam, this in my Panchakarma for 25 years.
Wow.
And what I did with the cleansing, I want to talk about the kit.
Go ahead. Yeah. I was just about to ask you what's in it. Yeah. Show us what's in it.
So this is the Serious Cleanse. It's the companion cleanse to my protocol, and we do this quarterly. And so you could see this little infographic.
Yeah, we'll have a link to it as well. We'll have a link to the website.
So this addresses the 4 organs of detoxification. This is a very body-centered cleanse. It's extremely unique. No one's doing anything like it. And actually, yoga studios are clamoring to have me come and do these in a group way.
Awesome. I'm sure they are.
And it's so fun. We do this together, but you can do it on your own. And so what we start out with is this cleansing tea. So you drink the cleansing tea and it starts to draw toxins gently. The question like I have is, am I going to go to the bathroom a lot? No, you don't. You might have to urinate because it removes toxins from the kidneys. and the liver as well. But it's really gentle. So this cleanse tea has botanical herbs in it to help stimulate and gently heal and pull toxins from the liver and the kidneys, because if our kidneys and liver are overburdened, they're not going to be able to handle the everyday burden. So then I offer these exfoliation gloves in here. Everybody gets these gloves, which last a long time. You could also use a body brush if you have one as well. That works. And what we do is we go through the skin and with the exfoliation gloves, and you exfoliate all of your skin, rubbing gently. And I give a video tutorial on exactly how to do this. So there's that element as well. So there's this, the physical components are the gloves, the tea, and the body mask, but there's a tutorial video that I give. And in the video, I teach you how to cleanse your skin, and I teach you how to systematically go through your whole lymphatic system. And there's very specific movements that are easy to do. They don't hurt. Anybody can do these movements, and you pump your lymph. Exactly. You pump your lymph. And what happens is in life, our lymph only moves in 3 ways. Do you know what they are, Sam?
No, I know nothing about it.
Our lymphatic system is responsible for our immunity. It's like the garbage. It's the trash, system of our
I know that
body.
part, but I don't know the movements or anything. No.
Yeah, and it doesn't have a pump. So that what happened? It doesn't have a pump like the cardiovascular system has.
I would think one is sweat. Is sweating one?
Actually, breathing, exercise, and massage are the ways that our lymphatic system moves. And
I see what you mean. Yeah. Okay.
So people have extremely stagnant lymphatic systems and lots of dead skin built up. So I teach them how to do the skin and lymphatic cleansing through this video. And then you add water to the Serious Cleanse body mask. So this is a combination of earth and sea botanicals, clays, algae, different substances that literally pull toxins out of the body. They're known as binders that draw toxins out of the body. And now, like I said, I've been using this. I've had a chance to refine this body mask over 25 years on my clients. I mean, that's a long time. And so I've made this combination with known binders, and we've used it on people who've been exposed to everyday garden variety toxins, to radiation, chemo, even Agent Orange, and have had amazing experiences.
Wow.
We do spot treatments after dental x-rays or mammograms, after do a lot of computer use, or go through have to go through a backscatter or exposed to x-rays or flying a lot, and it draws these toxins out of the body. So you have the tea, the skin, lymph cleansing, and then you use the Serious Cleanse body mask. And there's about
it's amazing. And people don't know, but you can see Darci you can see her skin and her energy. She's actually 150 years old now.
It's 151, Sam.
Oh, that last birthday.
You forgot it. I know.
No, Darci in person just kind of like shines. Like your energy is so shining and very, very, very pure, as you can see. But yeah, it even comes through in video. For a 151-year-old, you're holding it together, honey.
Thank you. Well, I do this stuff. I'm not just talking about it.
No, that's one of the things about, I only talk to people that are the real deal. Darci is the real deal for a long time. And, she can look at you and like figure out without even examining you what's going on. Like, in person, very, I don't know, it's not psychic. It's just like, because the system, and if you're energetically attuned, like Darci is very energetically attuned, and she has a system. This is why you learn good systems, because, right. I always said, everyone is psychic to some extent. Psychic just means we have extrasensory perception, which literally means we have perception beyond the senses. We all do. We don't just need the gross senses in order to sense things about life. It's just a matter of whether or not it's honed and it's tuned, and if the channel is pure. So when someone's channel is pure and they've done a lot of purification, then their extrasensory perceptions are very acute. Yes. And then if you have a system that translates that extrasensory perception well, like Ayurveda or astrology or something where that sensory perception is plugged into a path of wisdom, into a vidya, then you become like a real kind of master teacher and healer, which is what Darci is, because the channel is so pure through all the sadhana, and the sensitivity is and the experience of seeing energetic imbalances for so long, it's easy to like be able to know and diagnose what's going on and what it means and what it feels like in the person and things like that.
Thank you.
You're certainly welcome. But it's actually a very good thing, because there's all kinds of illusions around things, even like, oh, you're psychic or this or that, or again, everyone has this. We're not just a hunk of meat. That's the grossest capacity. And again, once you start purifying and cleansing and learn and really, elevating the vibration in your organism, you stop feeling like this sort of hunk of meat kind of walking around just getting triggered by everything. Like you can't really vibrate on a higher level, and you're not even connected to your own like extrasensory perceptions and intuitions. They just get kind of stuck. Yes. And then once that channel starts to get clear, things like astrology and Ayurveda and all of these more subtle vibrations and perceptions come in and help you translate what it is that you already sense. You see a lot of this in the West. This is a bit off subject for sure, but a lot of new age psychic, oh, I'm a psychic and whatnot. There's nothing invalid about that. That could be very true. But the reason it's also kind of woo-woo and ungrounded is because it's not plugged into a system where you can even translate that psychic ability consistently, reliably. Half the time it's out of your control. You don't really know what it is you're picking up. This is the beauty of these Vidya traditions, these wisdom traditions, as people like Darci and myself and others, we've just been able to hone our natural, quote, psychic or extrasensory intuitions into something that really translates them well. And some of us translate it through astrology, others through Jyotish, others through through Ayurveda. And you'll see that, based on the individual, Darci's psychic ability or whatever really flows through the wisdom of the body and all of that stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the accolades and bringing that point out. I wanted to say, first of all, you are a master, and there's been so many times that you've said things to me that were so right on. And later we look back, you were like, oh yeah, I told you that. I told you that. So, and how I would say some of what you just said, not that, just to add my,
I wanted to get your feedback on that idea.
Yes. Yeah. So so we're born actually before that, I like to start with the foundation things before that.
When Darci goes, now, then get ready. Okay. That's why I wanted to get your response. Let's hear it.
So what happens at the moment of conception, when the sperm meets the egg, our prakriti, a beautiful Vedic Sanskrit or Devanagari Sanskrit term prakriti, our prakriti was created. What is your prakriti? Your prakriti is your original nature. When you are in absolute harmony with whatever your interpretation of God or creator is, the earth, all of the elements, the balance of space, air, fire, water, and earth in your body is right. Everything, when you are in perfect health, that is prakriti. And that happened the moment the sperm met the egg. And that is your unaltered constitution. That is you at your best, let's say, in your body, in your mind, and in your emotional body as well. So what happens? We're born. Let's say we're born into a blizzard and it's cold and our mom's eating ice cream and junk food and cheese, and she's breastfeeding us. So, and we acquire this kapha. We acquire something that's called vikruti. So we have our first little layer of vikruti, like a coat on. And then let's say we move some years later. Mom's never done the cleanse. We're 5 or 10. We move and we don't know where we're going, and it's scary. And, there's, maybe there's some type of trauma in moving. And then we acquire vata or anxiety or, something. We've never done a cleanse. We've never learned meditation. We've never released that or cleansed that. So what happens is, we have all these coats of vikruti or disorder, imbalance, and we acquire these layers. And until we start doing practices, what do I mean by practices? I mean anything where your attention is going in, such as meditation, where you're paying attention to your inner self, where you can drop these extraneous thoughts and be connected to your own higher self or God, whatever, Guru, whatever you call that, where you practices where you cleanse these old impressions, these physical, these emotional, impressions that we acquire, these different types of toxins. Hatha yoga is a great practice, but hatha yoga requires, that you also do cleansing. The shad karmas require a clean body. So what happens is basically we come perfect, and then we acquire toxins, and when we start to cleanse our senses, then we can have the capacity, our natural innate capacities, and be able to of our own body, plus our, what Sam's calling, extra senses, have the intuition for him to say, hey, Darci, prepare, in a Jyotish reading, prepare for this, or you want to have da-da-da-da-da. Or when I say, oh, you need to cleanse this, or use my spidey sense, given if I never cleansed, I probably, I do these practices myself. I wouldn't be the conduit that I am, the channel. So it's, what the Vedas taught us, we do.
And it's this connection between the, what we call, is that nature or nurture, or is that the science or intuition? These are all false choices as well, because here's the way you understand it: is the science is the same for everybody, but the intuition is different for everybody. Everybody has to, everyone has their own unique kind of intuition, which could be described as the psychic part. And like Darci just said, until you cleanse the senses and the doorways, not just into the body, but into the mind and into the consciousness, then your higher, what you might call psychic potential or intuition, is literally what it is. Intuition is not sensual. Intuition is not part of the senses. It's part of the higher mind. And there's one of the deepest principles in Ayurveda is not trusting our intuition. The biggest mistake we make is we don't listen to our inner wisdom, the mistake of the intellect, which is literally that we know it's right, we just don't do it. And when we listen to our intuition, our higher sense, it's never wrong. And we would never accumulate toxins if we listen to our intuition, because it's always right, but it's also very quiet. It's a quiet voice. It's not a loud voice. It's not, eating junk food to get a hit. No, we know that's wrong, but we enjoy it in the moment, but we don't listen to our intuition. So these things are all related, and unlocking our higher intuitive sense requires that cleansing of where we are, which is in our body. That unlocks a higher intuitive sense, and then you plug that intuition into some structure of divine knowledge. This is why it's very hard to even learn something like astrology or Ayurveda or yoga, or really grasp the concepts until the channel is pure, or however pure the channel is, that's how much you're going to understand.
Yes.
That's typically what happens. Everyone thinks they understand it perfectly at whatever level they are. Everyone thinks they understand it perfectly at whatever level they are. They think they got it. And then as you start to become more pure, you start to understand it on a higher level. It's the same information. Your comprehension changes because your consciousness is expanding. And then you start to connect it at higher and higher and higher levels. This is why people like Darci and I do this all the time, because I learn more and more all the time, because I get more and more clear, pure, and I engage with the information and the practices more. I was blown away this past weekend, as much as I've been talking about Jupiter moving into Sagittarius and all these shifts happening. You know, one of the things that happened this past week with this this impeachment vote, astrologically happened right at the point where all of this couldn't have been more precise and exact. And it blows my mind. I'm like, I can't believe how well this stuff works. And it's not because I'm saying, oh, I'm a great astrologer. I know the shifts are coming. I already know what's going to be happening, but to see it so precisely, it's like, wow. So it's an endless opening once you start to purify the channel. And Ayurveda is probably the best way to start with your organism where it is in order to cleanse, purify, and reset back to a place of balance. And then you build it up on a more pure level after that.
Yes. Said so well. I love how you mentioned pragya parad, or going against what we know to be true. And there's a piece of, when we do that, it's the mistake of the intellect.
Right.
And, you talked about sugar. We eat, we want this hit of sugar or this. And, what we don't realize is ama begets ama. Toxins beget toxins.
Right.
Toxins want more of that same, whether it's candida form of toxins or bacteria or virus or, this biofilm, or it begets itself. And so in the same way, purity of body, mind, which is, one of our basic yoga sutras, is about being suchi, about being clean. This purity begets more purity. And then we have capacity to experience it more. You reminded me, I was when I first moved to Kauai, and I was studying, you talk about when we get to a different level. I did this whole cleanse on myself, and I was meditating and doing this hatha yoga really consistently. And I'm going over my Jyotish lessons, and I'm listening to tapes, cassette tapes. And all of a sudden, I literally saw lights going off. I saw an image. I never told anybody this, I don't think. I saw an image of my chart, and the transit, and it was. I saw Jyotish, like I saw the Jyoti. I saw the light, and that's how these sciences are alive. They're the wisdom, the vidya. It's not, even the first Yoga Sutra, people think it's a throwaway sutra. What does it say? And now we'll begin. That doesn't mean 2,000 years ago, now. And so for me, in my loft, in the A-frame, little house that I was living at in Kilauea when I first moved here, I had these lights, and Jyotish, a whole nother level of Jyotish began for me at that time. And so these wisdom healing arts are alive, and it begets more of that wisdom and cultures and nourishes more of that wisdom. And so, even as Sam and I are talking, it's alive. So it's contagious. So,
and the reason, the last thing I'll say, because we could talk forever.
I know.
No, we can talk forever, but no, it's really important right now as well. And I've been saying this. One of the reasons why we're even having this conversation, none of these conversations are planned. I take 5 minutes and we kind of say, we're going to kind of go this and then we're going to talk. So that's why kind of extemporaneous. These are my friends. This is how we talk. But right now, Jupiter going into Sagittarius, this is the time to really embrace teachings, higher teachings, pure teachings, vidya, which are teachings connected to pure wisdom. This is why the Indian teachings are so different. It doesn't mean they're better. It doesn't mean like Western astrology isn't any good, or Western alchemy, or all the stuff that people study. No, it's all fine. you find what you resonate with. But one thing that can be said is those Western alchemy traditions are disconnected from their roots. They're not plugged into a greater holistic system. And
Lineage.
there's not the structure and the framework to support the kind of greater consciousness unfolding that we're talking about here for the most part. Because, again, the support isn't there. When you look at something like even what we're talking about with yoga or with Jyotish yoga, Ayurveda, these are all common sister sciences because they're plugged into what's called Samkhya philosophy. These are this is a common sort of chemistry set that allows these sciences to talk to each other and whatnot. So these pure systems now, these pure wisdom traditions it's really a time to study them now for the next year or so. Jump into some of this, jump into cleansing, jump into Jyotish, jump into purification, because again, with Jupiter right on the edge of Sagittarius, we need it as well. We need this. For the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've had Saturn going back and forth between Scorpio, Sagittarius, Ketu there. Jupiter has not really been in great position the last several years, going through Virgo and then Libra. And Scorpio has brought a lot of transformation and potentiality, but it's not the sattva. It's not the guna. You want the planet in the guna. Virgo's a tamasic sign, Libra's rajasic, Scorpio's tamasic. Jupiter is coming into his sattvic place in Sagittarius, which is about, okay, now I'm ready to uproot the dark, fears that I've had and connect with the pure light that Sagittarius not only represents, but gets its power from Jupiter. So having Jupiter re-established in his sign of Sagittarius, it's the perfect time to do something like purify. That's related to fire, higher purification for spiritual purposes. Also purify your studies. And that could be your astrology studies, your Jyotish studies. I say the thing all the time about snacking on videos. It's fun, it's entertaining, it's also very rajasic, and it's not really taking you anywhere. It could be creating a lot of negative ideas as well. So as we're moving into this, it's a great time to be aligning with higher sattvic teachings. And so I'm really glad to introduce you to Darci, and we'll have some links below, talking about her cleanse, which I definitely recommend you do it. I'm going to do it. I'm so glad we had this conversation because I'm ready to do it myself.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And thank you so much, Sam, for having me. Again, I regard you so highly as a master Jyotish teacher and a dear friend. You're really one of my favorite people, even though we don't get to spend that much time together. You're really one of my favorite people.
Yeah, when I saw you a month ago, it was a weird energy going on there at that festival.
I know. And that's the beauty, like if I would be like cloudy or, in my Vikruti, I would have made up stories like, oh, Sammy doesn't love me.
Sam's so rude.
But I knew your pitta was high. It was hot. It was an uncomfortable, thing. But my point being is I have so much, I have such deep respect for you. I watch your videos. I've been a member for years. Thank you for everything you model. I said this before and I'm going to say it again, and I hope I don't embarrass you. So you model this type of this generosity as a teacher, and you're strict and you're firm. You have both sides of it, for balance, for all symmetry. So thank you so much for everything that you offer. It's really, anybody who's known you for a while and followed you, you are one of the most generous teachers I've ever met.
Well, so, thank you. It's my pleasure. And I love seeing people, benefit from it as much as I have. And, yes. I'd be doing it for free. So that's the thing. Find what you love doing and do it. So I'm glad to see that you're putting this out in a greater capacity, and that I can share this with my audience. And so we have the links below, and we'll have you on again.
All righty, looking forward to that. And as we say here, aloha.